I'll look to my board to see if there's any questions for the applicant or staff at this time. Commissioner Mast first.
This is for the applicant, so if I could have, I think Frank, I think you can cover this, but let's just kind of see where this goes, okay? So I want you to take the opportunity to just, first of all, I want to clarify, I understand how traffic studies are done. And I believe I heard you say that for 10 years, and please correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, I want to make sure we get it correct, that for the past 10 years, there have been what we call a regular traffic study, which means we've taken readings, there's been on-season, off-season. Please take us through the process on how traffic studies information is accumulating. I want to start there.
Okay. For the record, Frank Domingo, Stantec, and I have filled out a speaker card. In previous rezonings and expansions of Boca Royale Boulevard, we have, Boca Royale property development, we have been asked to monitor traffic to see if we meet right turn lane warrants on 776 into the site. That's why we've been counting traffic for so long. The process, it's mostly, for that case, we'll actually go out and actually count the actual traffic from the site. Basically what we'll do is we'll put up tube counters at the entry points, and we'll monitor how much traffic there is over the course of probably a 48-hour period to find out how much traffic there's there and whether we meet turn lane warrants. So that's what we've been doing on a regular basis. Is it very specific as to when or what month? Not really, but we've randomly collected over the course of that, over the course of those periods. And that's where we've basically come up with, that's where we've gotten the data that supports what the trip generation is from these sites. And again, as I stated before, when we analyze these, and if you look at the report, the trip generation is somewhere around about one PM peak hour trip per dwelling unit. And the rates that we've been calculating for these based on actual data has been around 0.4 per house, so it's really on the lower side. And this isn't the only place we're doing this. We also do it up. We've also had to monitor Grand Palm because it's a DOCC, and that's been around 0.4, 0.45. So, and we've also been monitoring traffic within the city of Venice and all Mr. Neal's developments there as well, and they generate around 0.4. So when you start to look at the trend and the demographics that you're experiencing throughout most of southern South Sarasota County, those are the rates that we are tending to find. So much so that we've done trip generation studies and actually submitted them to the Institute of Transportation Engineers to actually provide them some data that is more indicative of Southwest Florida. So we've also wanted to make sure we've entered those into the systems, the national systems that actually monitor these. They have taken those studies and they have accepted those. So those have also been incorporated into like the overall generation for the country. But that's how much monitoring we have done on behalf of Mr. Neal and Neal Communities. They're not always happy that we have to do all of that, but there is some value to that data that we've been collecting.
Okay, and then I want to talk about the traffic light. So if you want to address it, or I may have Ms. Wiggins also from staff, but I know that this has been a request for quite some time, and I would like to know if you could at least give a guesstimate of when there's a public-private partnership like this, when part of the stipulations are that you're required to put the light in. What is the impact of that from a financial perspective when the developer takes it on rather than the taxpayers bearing that cost?
If you're talking about how much the cost is for that, there's turn lanes associated with the completion of that.
Yep.
So it's
I know it's a guesstimate.
yeah,
I'm just-
traffic signals are around $750,000, and if you start adding 3 or 4 turn lanes in, that's probably almost, if they're all left turn lanes, it could be close to another $500,000 to $1 million. So it's almost a couple $1 million by the time you're done with it. So, but I will also state for record that there is a proportionate fair share requirement in the UDC that basically says if the developer is only responsible for the proportionate share of those improvements that are attributable to his development. So that is something that will have to be explored, and Paula will probably answer that a little more closer as she is she's the review agency.
Okay, so I'll have Ms. Wiggins come up for that one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Ms. Wiggins.
I'm glad you said the same thing to me that you said to Marquise. I was going to feel some kind of way. For the record, Paula Wiggins, Transportation Planning Manager, and I have signed a speaker's card.
So could you please address the question that's here, and if you would elaborate to your expertise, that would be wonderful.
Okay, first I'd like to correct Mr. Neal. That is not something that I asked for, so I don't want it to be called Paula Wiggins intersection or whatever.
Wiggins Boulevard or what?
No,
Okay,
thank you.
okay.
I'd rather have my work speak in other ways. But in all seriousness, the intersection, when there's a stipulation that is required, I would also remind the commission that this is a state roadway, not a county roadway, although we do have Old Wood Road is Sarasota County Road, but State Road 776 is a state facility. Typically, if an improvement is required, and it's as the result of the development, it would be the developer whose responsibility. As it has been stated before, this intersection did meet warrants in the past, but DOT's engineers said that they did not recommend the signal go in. So you can meet warrants for a signal, but it's also, there's some caveats in there that says engineer judgment. So their engineers, in their determination, it was not the time to put that signal in. There is the introduction of the fourth leg of the intersection, which would then make sense to have that and that go forward. So there is some provisions as to proportionate share along the way. How much that is, typically it's the capacity that is used of the improvement and all that. It's a formula that I don't remember all my calculus, but there's a formula that goes into it as to who pays for what.
And may I ask, in this stipulation, in this case, with this particular project, is this something that was a mutual, I understand they said they're happy with, they agree to all stipulations, and so this was something that obviously was communicated from both sides?
This stipulation became because the applicant showed on the plans the access to connect into Boca Raton Boulevard at this location as well. This is not something that originated from Sarasota County. It was something that was presented as part of the application of what they did. Because it was part of it, and it showed with the access being there and the amount of traffic that they were generating that they needed a signal or a roundabout at that location. That is why we stipulated, because their traffic study indicated that it was needed based on what they provided to us for our review.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I think my next couple questions are going to be for Mr. Vogler or Mr. Neal.